I wonder, how many of you have ever had a near-death experience? Maybe you've been up in an aeroplane and that terrible turbulence started, and you thought to yourself, could this be it? Or maybe you've had a serious illness in your life. You were taken to the brink, but you clawed your way back again. You see, life is so terribly unpredictable, isn't it? It has a cobweb-like thinness to it, and we never truly know when that joker in the pack is going to be handed to us. Many years ago now, you were given the biggest gift of all, the gift of life. When you were first given it, you were a baby. You became a toddler, and you grabbed that gift of life with both hands, didn't you? Oh, you were curious about it. You were adventurous with it. You took it everywhere with you. Then you became a teenager. And you became a little bit more experimental with that gift of life. But you also became a little bit complacent, even slightly embarrassed sometimes. So you put it on a shelf in your bedroom so that not everyone could see it all the time. Then you became an adult. I wonder where you put that gift of life now. Was it firmly in your hand still, as it was when you were a baby? Was it on that teenage shelf? Or maybe, just maybe, you'd packaged it up in a big brown box, gaffer-taped it down and shoved it in the loft with everything else you really must attend to one day. Today, I want to re-gift you that life. I want you to leave here today with that same enthusiasm, that same optimism and excitement that you had for it when you were first ever given it. "20 years ago now, virtually to this day, I was given 40 minutes to live. The surgeon came out of the operating theatre, her hands covered in my blood. And she said to my husband, I can't do any more for her. She said, there are 2 people in the country that might be able to save her life, one of whom is in Scotland, and one of whom is on the other side of London. The only problem is, we've only got 40 minutes to get her there. Scotland, that was out. So I was blue-lighted, unconscious, in an ambulance from one side of London to another on what was roughly a 35-minute journey. You do the maths. My husband, well, he was too het up to drive, so he followed behind the ambulance in a car driven by our wonderful neighbour. And they were told in no uncertain terms, if the ambulance stops, don't get out and try and find out what's happening. We'll be trying to save her life. On arrival at the hospital, I was hurled into yet another operating theatre. And there, they carried out a pioneering new surgery on me. I believe I can even be found in the medical books. My 15 minutes of fame in life had finally arrived. Just not in the Britain's Got Talent kind of way. 24 hours later, as I was coming back around, I saw this man, and he was standing at the end of my bed, and he was dressed all in white. You know what I thought? I thought, oh, Caitlin, you really got undone it this time, love. You see, I thought I'd arrived at those pearly gates. But then this man walked round my bed, leant over my face, and what he said was this. He said, Caitlin, we'll just have to keep our fingers crossed. And I remember thinking, fingers crossed? Fingers crossed, mate. That's my life in your casually crossed fingers. No, I'm not standing here today saying that I've got the monopoly on illness. I haven't. There are going to be people in this audience that have had just as bad, if not worse, situations than mine. But what I am saying is this. When I heard those words, you had 40 minutes to live, it was like a thunderbolt cracked through me. That, and a subsequent diagnosis of blood cancer, which I've lived with to this day, it made me open my eyes to life again. It made me want to grab every opportunity that came my way, but as importantly, it made me want to make you, other people, realize this and to do the same. So from that moment onwards, I decided to live my life as if I was writing my own eulogy. Yeah. I wanted to make absolutely sure I knew what my children were going to say about me when they stood up in that pulpit in my final hour. I wanted to live the life that I wanted to write and write the life that I wanted to live. So how did I write that version 1.2 of my eulogy? Well, I'll tell you my stories. I'll tell you my lessons, and I hope some of them will resonate with you. You see, after I was ill, I taught myself to run. And I know half of the audience are just going to have recoiled in horror, and no, I'm not going to talk about running for the whole time now, but I would recommend it. You see, I had to start running for medical reasons. I was high-risk osteoporosis, my bone density was shot, I was 3 stone lighter than I am today, and I had to rebuild. And somewhere in some hairdresser's magazine, I'd read, if you want to rebuild your bone density, you've got to start running. So that's what I did. But my story isn't a story of some caterpillar to Olympic butterfly. It couldn't be further from it, actually. I used to go out at 5 in the morning when my children were fast asleep. I would be layered up in clothing. I'd have a baseball cap on. I'm slightly ashamed to admit that I would wear sunglasses in the pitch dark. I was horrified at the thought of anyone seeing me lumbering around my local area. But slowly, and very surely, I fell in love with this thing called running. I fell in love with what it was teaching me about myself. It was giving me a confidence that I never really knew I had. Every mile I ran, every corner I turned, I was learning a clarity about who I was, what mattered to me, and what I wanted to get out of my life. And you know, all over the place, these doors started opening to me. They were pinging open, and behind every door there was this treasure trove of opportunity, and I was going to take them. You see, I'd found my in life. You might call it your passion, your fire, your vocation, whatever. I call it my And my was you, people. I wanted to shake you out of any sloth-like somnambulance of life that you might be in and make you get out there, lead a life that explodes with pride before your final 40 minutes are given to you. I wonder if you found your And if you haven't, it doesn't matter. Keep looking for it. Get that magnifying glass out because it's out there somewhere. And when you find it, that eulogy, it changes. It goes from a black and white version to a wonderful technicolor, and it starts jumping off the page. And that led to the second lesson, the leap of faith. I've taken so many leaps of faith in my life. I went from personal opera singer to personal trainer in my 30s. Not your obvious career progression, I'll grant you that. Not something you see on LinkedIn every day. And after that, I opened a running club. I hate those words, running club. They filled me with horror. And besides, who was I to open a running club? But I wanted to open a running club that was different. I wanted to reverse the ethos of other running clubs. I wanted to put the people first and the running a very close second. I've taken leap of faith after leap of faith in my life because you know what? I never knew when that sword of Damocles would finally drop. And I urge you to do the same. Not just once, not twice this year, over and over again, every single day. I think today's is quite clear. There's a wonderful film that was on a couple of weeks ago, actually over Christmas. It's one of the Indiana Jones films, and it depicts this beautifully. He's stuck in a bit of a predicament, dear old Indiana. He's standing on the edge of a precipice, and he's tasked with the mission of saving a man's life. There's a man dying in the cave in the background, but Indiana has to get from one side of a precipice to another, but there is certain death in between, and he doesn't know what to do. He's sweating, he's stressed, and then he thinks, I know. He has that light bulb moment. He thinks, I know, I'll get my old book of Proverbs out. You know, the one we all carry around with us? He opens it up, dusts it off, and he reads. And what it says is this: only in the leap from the lion's head will he prove his worth. Only when we take that leap of faith will we prove our worth. And that's precisely what Indiana Jones did. He steps out over the edge of the precipice. Does he die? No, of course he doesn't. The floor rises up underneath him. He toddles across and he saves the man's life. Take that leap of faith. Jump. Jump. And that leap of faith led to the final lesson, the opening of that running club, the wonderful power of community. When I opened those running club doors, in came the most amazing, eclectic, licorice, all-sort bag of people. You see, I truly believe that every single person you meet has something to teach you. And it's down to you to listen and learn and find out exactly what that lesson is. And if you don't, you're the one that loses out. You know, when I go running sometimes, I run along down by a beautiful river path, and up in the air, I see this gorgeous V formation of geese, and they have taught me so much about community. There's one at the front, and he's leading them off on this great adventure together. All the others, equally important, they are flapping those wings. They're flapping them together, and you know, every flap they make, it takes them further and higher as a community together. And that honking sound, that honk, 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 honk they make, that is them cheerleading each other. They're saying, come on, we can do this together. How brilliant is that? They've taught me so much about how to lead a community. I'm sure many of you will have heard of that wonderful institution called Park Run. A timed 5K every Saturday morning. 300,000 people run Park Run every Saturday worldwide. And you think they're all there for the running? No, of course they're not. They're there for that community, aren't they? They're there to be honked, flapped, and taken off on some great adventure. Immerse yourself into a community. And it doesn't have to be a sporting one. It can be any community, anything that is your So now, I hand that golden baton over to you. If your life were to end prematurely tomorrow, how would your eulogy read? Quite well, I suspect. But would you be satisfied with quite well? Well, here's the rub. My talk today, Brené Brown, Simon Sinek, David Goggins, my hero. We can give you our little snippets of advice. They might resonate with you for an hour, a week, a month if we're lucky. But it's not going to be enough to lever you off the sofa into the action that you need to take. This is not just another New Year's resolution. This is not tomorrow's Monday morning promise to yourself to say, I'm going to give up alcohol. I'm going to stop eating sugar. No, this is my SOS call to you to say, where is that gift of life? Is it firmly in your hands as it was when you were a child? Well, lift it up again. Why not give it a little repaint? Is it on that teenage shelf? Well, get it down. Super glue those bits back on and show it off loud and proud. Or is it stuck up in that loft? And I hear you. You're saying, Kaylin, I can't get it down because I haven't even got a ladder. Don't give me that. You can go and get a ladder. You can go and buy a ladder. You can make a ladder out of matchsticks if you have to. But go and get that gift of life back down. In the words of Eamon Andrews, this is your life. So don't wait for those final 40 minutes to be given to you, because you know what? You might not be as lucky as I was. Thank you.